Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary, distinguished guests, welcome to Ridiculous, the Life of a Clown. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ridiculous Life of a Clown. Today I'm talking to Kendall Savage. Kendall, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name is Kendall Savage. I'm the former co-artistic director, co-creator of the Montreal Clown Festival, and current artist liaison of the soon-to-be recently announced Toronto Clown Festival. And if you don't mind, before this begins, I'd like to say a little something. I just want to acknowledge that the land I'm speaking on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee of the Wendat people, and is now the home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope I did justice to those names. I've been working on it all day. But anyways, here we go. Here we go. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here, and I cannot tell you how much I ramble and get sidetracked because I get so excited talking about clowning, and I'm so excited to talk to you about clowning. So you just pull me on back there. But if I get sidetracked, and I start doing whatever I do, I'm very good.
That makes for good podcasting. When people tangent about things that they care about. Okay. So as I was asking, we talked a little bit about who you are and what you do. What brought you to clown in the first place?
I came out of the womb with jazz hands, but that's what I tell people. But I guess when I've had my first introduction to clowning, growing up in the Niagara region, I am in Toronto, Ontario now, but I've been all over Canada. I became very obsessed with wanting to become a stand-up comedian, but I didn't really know how to write a joke. But the Kids in the Hall were a huge show at the time, and I wasn't allowed to watch them. So I would sneak into my parents' room at night, and I would watch them, and I knew, okay, this is something really silly. This is something really special. So I knew I wanted to go into comedy very, very young. I was probably about 10 at the time. And I tried to change my name to Kendall Wendell Savage. Didn't catch on. Not surprised. But I just grew up knowing I was a little extra silly. I was a little extra, me. I mean, if you see me, I like to dress to suggest. I'm obsessed with vintage clothing as well. So I dress like I am from anywhere from the 1950s to the early 1970s all the time. And then I went away university and got a degree in musical theater, and again was encouraged to lean more towards comedy. And I was having health problems all throughout that time, and I had to step back after graduation for a bit. And then I got involved in a program called the Players Academy. And at the Players Academy, one of the teachers was Mike Kennard. Now, Mike Kennard is one of the greatest clowns in Canada, who specializes in something called, arguably, the Pachenko technique or Canadian clowning. He's part of the duo Mump and Smoot, which is Canada's most famous, most incredible Pachenko style clowns. And he invited me when I was in my early 20s to go study at something which unfortunately this past year is no longer exists, but called the Clown Farm, with his partner John Turner and his director Karen Hines. I am such a fangirl of Karen Hines. Hi Karen, if you're listening, I love you. And I looked right in his face and I said, who does a career in clown? And I left it at that. So years had passed and I needed a fresh start. So my husband and I at the time moved to Montreal, and I went back to theater at Concordia. And while I was at Concordia my first year, I was in a show called Dr. Faustus Lights the Lights, and I was the lead clown in the chorus. And in the audience was the fabulous Yves Sheriff, who was at the time the head of the casting department of Cirque du Soleil. And he scouted me and was like, we want you to come audition for Cirque du Soleil. We see a very special clown in you. And I sat down and was like, maybe I should start taking this clown a little more seriously. And then the world just exploded from there. And I've studied with multiple people, one of which you've interviewed a lot of them. There's Joe DePaul, who I am such a huge fan of. His duo, Tim and Joe, is fantastic, out of Montreal. They are such huge supporters of our festival. once I got rolling into that, I found myself in Edmonton, Alberta, apprenticing under Mike Kennard of Mump and Smoot. And I was doing clown 24/7. It's a performance-based master's degree in the history of women in clown. And that was exhausting, and I almost finished it. Except I learned a hard clown lesson that you should back up your thesis on a computer in case someone steals your computer. So that happened, and I packed everything up, went back to Montreal, and I started a festival.
That's very cool. So
That,
in
this,
your go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I'm listening.
In your clown, what are you trying to accomplish as a clown when you're performing?
It's interesting you should say that, because there was after my master's degree, I was so burnt out, I had to step back from actual performance. Because I was performing every day, and it was such an air of vulnerability constantly, and that mixed with the pressure of a master's degree, and I was having numerous incredible amount of health problems at the time. It all became too much, and I've only recently picked up actual performance there. But then that begs to question, as an artist, when does the clown start and when does the clown stop? So I'm constantly finding myself through the entire thing, one foot in clown, one foot in reality. I think I am very much so my clown at all times, maybe just with a little bit of a different filter. So what I'm looking for now, going back into it, is the vulnerability, the humor, trying to find, who I am as a clown again, and just bring back all of that incredible work I did studying under Mike Kennard and in my early years, where it was just problem solving the ridiculous. No, problem solving the impossible with the ridiculous and bringing it to the audience that way. I just want to be an idiot and love it, which I do.
Very nice. Let's talk a little bit about that first festival.
Yes, le Festival des Clowns de Montréal, the Montreal Clown Festival. Montreal is really unique because it is like the clown capital of Canada, if not a lot of North America, because every third person, it works for Cirque du Soleil or Cirque Éloigh, or at the time Cirque Carmagnole, and Le Sept Doigts, the Seven Fingers. So there is constant circus in the city. They Tohu was incredible, a circus school. So when I returned to Montreal, I knew I needed to step back from performing. There's a very different style in Montreal. Pachenko is very, what they would call anglais, and they're very Gaulier. It's very European over there. It's very, very different. I got together with James Keelan from the Francine Coté School of Clown and Comedy, which is now the School of Clown Comedy run by Jean Sorcier, fabulous clown teacher specializing in therapeutic clowning. And we started a cabaret called Les Clowns, the Clowns. And that's sold out in a second. We were selling out 150, 200 seats at Cafe Cleopatra. It was like huge parties. Just all of a sudden, all the clowns came out for the first time. It started feeling like community. And community is always my number one goal, because you can have all the funding in the world and all the fans in the world, but community is what it's like improv. Who goes to improv? Improvisers. Clown. Who goes to clown? Clown. You need your community. And so I just decided, okay, you know what? Let's rip this band-aid off. I'm going to do my best. And I just announced, hey, I'm going to do a festival. And then I realized, holy crap, I now actually have to follow through. And I have to say that if it wasn't for Vanessa Rio, my clown, my artistic director partner, who now runs it, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today. So the festival just brought everybody together, and it was beautiful. And one of the first shows we did was the boat show with Slater Petty and his partner. And that was just so fantastic. So, and now they're going into their 6th year, I believe. So I'm really proud of them where they brought it.
Very
Does
cool.
that answer that?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, it
talking a
does.
mile a minute. I'm talking a mile a minute, and I'm throwing names out there, and I'm trying to stay organized. I'm like, listen to me sound professional, but I'm a clown. It's really hard. It's hard to be all those two worlds together.
Well,
Um,
and people, I think it's a recognized trope that comedians get very serious when they talk about comedy.
yeah, I feel like I'm being so serious right now, and I'm like, oh, here are these names, here are that. But at the end of the day, like, holy, I don't know if I can swear. Sorry, I almost
You can
swore.
swear.
Holy fuck, people, this clown. At the end of the day, it's just fucking clown, and it's fabulous, and it should be raunchy, and it should be silly, and it should be going back to its roots where it's not for children. Clown was never really intended for children. It was violent. It was okay. No, the racism part that can fuck off. But the history of it is just like it was never intended for children. And then Middle America came in, they started doing their thing and they pulled it more towards, but I guess you have to go to where your audience is. But I want to bring it back to almost crossing into bouffant.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that history, that shift is such an important part of circus history because it was that Barnum model. As the crowds got bigger and bigger, the clown got harder and harder to hear and became mum and just big makeup and no voice instead of being the kind of John Stewarts of their time. Um,
exactly. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. And speaking back to your comment about who goes to improv shows and who goes to clown shows, building community is really difficult. Um, I produce a semi-monthly improvised variety show right now, and the first few sold out like hotcakes, but since then it's been so difficult to get butts and seats.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of reasons. Like I can only speak on my experience, but there's the clique is a real thing. And it's something I'm very anti. I'm very anti clique. I'm very anti um I'm very anti negative ego. I feel it a lot of the times it comes, from fear, which is absolutely natural. Um and yet somewhat unnecessary, easier said than done. But it really, you can't build community unless everyone just steps back and makes the decision that, yeah, we're here for each other, we need to support each other. Because in Toronto there's like four really interesting things happening right now, if I may.
Yeah,
There's well, this one I can't really speak on. I don't think it's my place, but there is this fantastic surge of drag kings and drag queens because of all the wonderful television shows that are now heavily identifying with clown here. So the drag scene is exploding with really interesting stuff that's leaning more towards the absurdity, and that's wonderful. Secondly, Toronto now, as of the last handful of years, I'm heavily in the improv scene because I'm currently finishing the Second City Conservatory. My main goal is to eventually lead towards Second City main stage and write for that. And because as a clown, like you said in your interview many times, it's like you clown. It's so few people can actually do just clown all the time and make a living. You have to
mhm.
spread yourself out because I do film and television acting as well. But there is something really, really fascinating happening in the improv world. And I am such a huge fan of Two Man No Show, which is Ken Hall and Isaac Kessler. They are bringing clown into improv to try to encourage, well, for many reasons, but to try to encourage leading from physicality into the scene. So the improvisational people are not just kind of like talking heads. They're like leading physically and creating that way. And I have so much respect for the work they are doing. And thanks to them in association with what I now consider and hope to be the heart of the clown bouffant physical theater world, this beautiful, beautiful, I think he's living the dream. It's called Sweet Action Theater, and the thing to know about Canada is that although our land mass is huge, our population, it's a teeny tiny. And so the clown world is really small. And Gordon Neal of Sweet Action Theater just put his money where his mouth is and his heart is and said, you know what, I'm starting this theater. and we are going to specialize in clown and physical theater and bouffant. And they've been bringing, like, I just finished a wonderful workshop for the first time I clowned in many years, and it was nerve-wracking, with Joel Axelrod from LA. They bringing John Gilkey is coming up in the next
Nice.
few weeks. So, and I've heard, just, I have never had the honor of seeing him perform like live. Like, you can only get so much off the internet, you know. Um, but they are bringing all of these new wonderful styles of clowning, and there's a huge shift, and I just, like, I appreciate sweet action theater so much, and I view it as the heart of clown right now, and I want him to succeed so much, because I can only imagine how difficult that is. But they are just such wonderful people, and they're revolutionizing Toronto clowning, and I think that's great, because I think we need to adapt, and I think we need to change, or you get left behind. That being said, we've also suffered some dramatically horrific loss when Helen Donnelly passed away. Helen Donnelly was Toronto's premier Pachinko Canadian clown teacher, and she was passionate and wonderful, and very young when she passed this last year. It's heartbreaking. So now the shift is moving away from Canadian clowning, which we have to think about is huge, because it's an actual pedagogy that was created in Canada, and that's huge. So there is no one currently, to the best of my knowledge, in Ontario, Toronto, where I am, that teaches that style. So it's virtually unknown right now, unless you have had the honor of studying with Helen locally. So yeah, so that's been a real blow, and it's another reason why I think how these fellows are taking clown and creating this beautiful, beautiful space of sweet action theater. And it's brilliant. So,
Can you define, to some degree, pachinko clown for me?
yes. Okay, everybody. There is nothing like it in this world. So, there's a lot to it, but essentially, you embody colors through breath. And once you visualize these colors into the body, you allow your body to take over. So if I was to envision like the color red, I wouldn't necessarily associate it with fire. I would allow the color to take over my body, and I would find a gesture, and I would allow myself to move through the space, however red made me feel. And then I would move through all seven of the colors. And then you would make seven masks with your eyes closed. And then you would take all of the colors and you would paint the masks, and then you would explore all of these masks, and they all have gestures, and it's attached to an emotion, and it moves your body differently. You put all of them together, and when you put all of the masks together, all of these colors that you embody become the nose. And it's an incredible journey. There's a lot more to it, but essentially that's it. What I believe it does is it tricks people who aren't psychologically, who aren't necessarily used to moving through space and connecting movement through emotion. It sort of tricks them into finding their clown, because everyone has a clown in them. Everyone has a clown. And this allows the clown to come out physically, so you don't get too stuck in your mind, and you explore the emotion to the connection to the movement to the mask, and it all becomes one. And it's an incredible journey. It's very different than the work like Philippe Boyer does, who I have experienced. But it really is something special, and I hope to continue my apprenticeship with Mike Kennard in the future.
That sounds pretty cool.
It's neat.
I think it's been so many years since I was in the clown conservatory, but I think a heavy part of our dogma at the time was building character through physicality.
Mm.
That the physicality came first, and the character came second. I know for me, physicality and voice
Mm.
are huge. Those two things together are a huge part of how I build character out for a performance, especially during improvisation. Um, Clown, I'm trying to lean more and more heavily towards silent and removing dialogue from the acts that I already have. when
Mm,
possible. Uh,
yeah,
but
that's great.
my burlesque act I just did for the first time silent, and it was probably the best version of that clown burlesque act I've ever done.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah. Um, so let's talk about the new festival.
Yes. Okay. This is really happening. So much is happening so fast. I'm a little overwhelmed. So I want to just point out that I am not the head of this a festival that's coming up. I'm in association with the incredible Byron La Violette and Alicia. Sorry, Brian La Violette is the director of the local clown duo Morrow and Jasp. So he's very prominent in the theater world here. He's brilliant. He's wonderful to be around. He's very passionate. He's very smart, and I'm working with Alicia. Sorry, Alicia Di Stefano. Di Stefano. Alicia Di Stefano. I love you, Alicia. Please don't be angry. She is the main producer of Toronto's Red Nose Cabaret, which is our only clown cabaret, but for a reason, because it's so awesome. Uh, and it has been a total honor working with them. When I came to Toronto, oh, it's really important that I note this is not our first festival.
Okay.
The Montreal Festival would not exist if it wasn't for the original Dave McKay and the Toronto Clown Festival. That festival folded in 2018, which was devastating to the community and heartbreaking. But it just came to an end, and they needed to take their space. And they have been wonderfully supportive, and they are brilliantly fabulous people. But they that whole world of that festival, nothing else would be possible if it wasn't for them. I was completely inspired to start Montreal Clown Festival to them, and I just want to send all of my love to all of them. They're fabulous. And this new one, it's so new. We're still joking around with names, but when I came in 2019, um, I just was like so gung ho. I was like, I'm going to start a festival. And I contacted everyone that I thought would be a real powerhouse business wise and clown wise to move something forward. And then we started having clown halls to find out from the community what they wanted and what they saw. And then COVID hit, and that just went to fart. That just went to fart because COVID is COVID. And it's not over, people. COVID's not over. Just saying. Side note. Um, and then about 2 months ago, Byron thought he was really funny because he is, and he pretended to accidentally pocket dial all of us. And he's like, "I think we should start this festival again." And we sat down and we had a few meetings. And at the last meeting, we finally said, "You know what? We're going to do this." And now we need to light a fire under the butt of the community, so to have them start creating again, because we need, as much as you want to support local artists, if there's no work to show, we can't do it. And it's that saying where the teacher opens the door, but the student has to walk through. Like, I can't create a festival focused around the community if the community is not creating the work. We'll have to go outside because the world has so many incredible clowns. So right now we're looking to hopefully by the time this airs, Buddies in Bad Times Theater is an incredible theater that is local in the village that we hope to nail down. We'll have a name by the time this airs, hopefully. And we'll be off to the Montreal Clown Festival at the end of September to start talking about Canadian Association of Clown Festivals. And I'll be in discussion with the casting directors from all of the circuses for scouting opportunities. So we want to lean a little darker than the other festivals. I will tell you that much. Again, because it comes all around back to the classic clowning. As much as I feel there's room in the world for everybody. You want to do your children's clowning, do your children's clowning. Let's not get so uppity about that, people. I'm so tired of shitting on other people's joy. If you want to if you want to go be a child entertainer, go be a child entertainer. Let them have that space. Like, there's so much uppity bullshit around judgy different styles of clown. I find that I am just like, let people have their happiness, let people have their joy, and then focus on yourself, right? So I gotta say that. But we definitely want to lean a little darker. We want to cater maybe a little bit more to the bouffant, but not necessarily. We want to be bringing in poetry. I mean, yeah, sure, okay, but that's not what I meant to say. Puppetry. Um, we want to find acts that are a little more unique, a little weirder. Our main word is weird.
Okay.
We want to get weird, but we don't want to get fetish. Let me make that very clear, because I'm telling you, if I have one more person reach out to me about their clown fetish, I get, as an artistic director, I cannot tell you how many times someone tried to write me sexy stuff because they're into clown fetish, which is great. I love it. I love it. But know your audience. Like, it's not me. I can't help you. I can't help you. I can't help you find your kink family. You gotta go do that yourself. Okay, thank you. I can't believe how much that happens. Like, I can't believe it. So yeah, we want to lean a little darker. And I think my dream show to bring, I haven't seen it. I want to see it so bad. Do you know the Long Pigs?
No.
Out of Australia? I have only seen the trailer. They did amazing, I think, in about 2018, 2019 in Edinburgh. And they have this very large, elaborate looking show, and it looks deliciously dark. I want to get back to that old clown where it's like, it's weirder, it's darker, it's a little more for adults. I want to get back to the heart of that clown and welcome other forms of it. And also, I think it's really important to not just view clown from the European standard of clown. Like, every culture has a clown. In quotation marks, there's different words for it. In the First Nations, it's trickster, which is a term that shouldn't be used in Canada, especially unless you are in First Nations. You're talking about the First Nations trickster. Like, do not come to my festival and start calling me a trickster. That is an honorable term that is just for the First Nations people. Okay, thank you. I said it. And it's gonna be just weird. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be wonderful, and it's gonna be a party, because that's how I work. I'm a big partier.
That all sounds really wonderful.
Thanks.
Yeah, you should if you're ever down the Bay Area way, let us know and we'll show you some of the stuff that goes on down here.
Oh yeah, I've heard some great stuff that comes out of there. I really do. I also would love to encourage people to send me their stuff. Like, I want to see you guys.
Cool.
I want to see everything. Like, you can find me on Instagram at pretty funny Kendall Savage, or just email me at kendallsavage@gmail.com. Unless you're looking for fetish, guys. Go ahead, like, let your freak flag fly, but let your freak flag fly. Just don't wave it over here.
Indeed. So before we wrap up, let's see what we're doing. We're doing good. Before we wrap up, aside from this festival, what is a role or project you've always wanted to do but weren't able to due to, like, say, restraints of budget or casting or timeline or so on?
Oh. God, I don't know how to answer that. Like, what's something that I've just always wanted to do?
Yeah, some kind of performance or production that you've wanted to do but haven't been able to.
I really want to start working on my own performances. Like, I'm slowly going into, hopefully this coming spring, I will be in rehearsal with Nathaniel from Naked Empire Bouffant. For my own bouffant show. That's like the next goal I was working towards. And then announcing the festival is happening back in the community, exploded so much over these last 2 weeks. I almost have to put a pin in that, but I'm going to try really hard not to lose who I am as a performer while producing, because I find doing the two at the same time a real challenge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of, because when I started my festival, I hung my nose up. I had to hang my nose up. I couldn't do both. People kept saying, "Wow, you run a clown festival, you must be an amazing clown performer. And I started getting in my head and being like, what if I suck? What if my clowns, what is my community gonna do? Like, what if I am a terrible? And yeah. But I mean, I guess we can go into that stuff. Like I'll talk to my therapist about it. But I would like to start performing my own more. Like I'm prioritizing myself, uh, uh, and also taking on a lesser of a leadership role in this upcoming Toronto festival. I hope to be primarily artist liaison and work on people's contracts. I don't want to be the boss in that sense anymore. I love being a leader in the community. I love bringing a community together. But Byron and Alicia are going to be such a powerhouse together. I just feel like this is going to be one of the world's greatest festivals when the time comes as we slowly start to create.
Very cool. All
Thanks.
right. So before we wrap up, uh, what are some media or clown or so on that influenced the clown that you became that you haven't mentioned so far? Who are some
Oh,
influences
yeah.
that you took into who you are?
So I'm a huge fan of Rick Mile. So from like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the young ones or Bottom. I was very to this day I'm very obsessed with the British TV show Bottom.
Mhm. The Dangerous
Uh
Brothers.
yeah. Oh yeah, the Dangerous Brothers. Absolutely, absolutely. I love recently I've tried to get it in I love I believe she's pronounced Chula. She's a beautiful visual clown from Latin America who's fantastic. Natalie Claude inspires me so much from Montreal. Um, I gotta say, probably the biggest influence on me was Rick Mile growing up, big time. Very, and all of the kids in the hall who I had the honor of working on their sixth season that just came out. I got to act across Kevin McDonald, which was a huge honor. Like I was in woo, that was something else. I'm still on cloud nine from that one. That was a dream come true. My scene got edited out of the television show, but they used it on the special features. Doesn't matter. I still did it. um, and Jan Henderson and Karen Hines are two fabulous people. Karen Hines has this character called Poxy, and it's a called she does a neo bouffant because she's really torn. I believe God, I can't speak for her, but I think sorry, Karen, she's really torn about some of the hangups of the physicality of bouffant and how that's come about. So she's done one where she her clown is has mercury poisoning. So it's a bouffant character that comes from mercury poisoning as opposed to a physical ailment. And she teaches neo bouffant, and she just wrote a brand new show that's premiering at the Edmonton Clown Festival, which I won't be able to get out there, unfortunately. It's a 8 hour flight. Canada's big. Um, and they are heavily influenced me as a clown. God, I feel like I'm talking so freaking fast. I can't believe how much I've said in this last hour.
um,
Yeah, keep up.
are you going to attend the Gilkey workshop when he does it out there?
It sold out too quickly.
Oh, that's
It
too
sold
bad.
out. Yeah, yeah. I fully intend on doing it in the future. He's one of the few pedagogies that I don't really know a lot about. I've experienced everyone. I've Itor, Ira, wonderful.
He was the
Um,
best director I've ever had. And
Itor,
no, Gilkey.
Gilkey. Oh yes, I've heard just such wonderful things. I'm gonna crash maybe the final class and wiggle my way in to see everybody work. We're gonna see how that goes because I'm Kendall Savage. Oh yeah, the fourth thing about that's really interesting about Toronto Clown right now is that they have Kendall Savage. I tell that to everyone. I'm like, you have Kendall Savage now. She's obsessed. She's obsessed with clown and she's determined. She's determined. So that's me.
All
A little
right.
self promotion there,
That's good. That's great. It's the only way to do it. Um,
right?
okay. Before I let you go,
Yes.
2 more questions.
Okay.
Where can people find your work?
You know what? I don't think there's anything online of actually me performing clown. And I'm okay with that. That's a really long and wild story. I don't know. They can just like FaceTime me and we'll talk for like 10 minutes and then they'll see my clown. You're watching it right now.
All right. Last question. If you were to tag someone else to be in the podcast after you, who would it be?
It would have to be Christine Lesiak, the head of the Edmonton Clown Festival. Brilliant woman.
Okay.
Or Natalie Claude, or Muppin Smoot.
Okay. I will try and fish contact information out of you later for them.
Oh, I know everybody. And if I don't, I wanna. So people get a hold of me. I want to know you.
Kendall, it was wonderful having you on the podcast.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled.
Oh my. All right. I will talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Yay! Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Ridiculous Life of a Clown. If you enjoyed this program and you'd like to get more of it, please consider sponsoring us on Patreon at patreon.com/picklewater. For as little as $1 a month, you can help make sure that this podcast keeps coming to your ears on a regular basis. Theme music by Kevin MacLeod.